Welcome back guys to my channel. This is Moses here, and today I have a few tips for beginners who are just starting their journey into portrait photography. If you're just starting your journey with portrait photography, you should know that there are two files that your camera produces when you take your photos. There's the RAW file and the JPEG file. The difference between those photos is the data in these files. So the RAW files have way more data than the JPEG. JPEG is basically the camera trying to adjust the colors for you, trying to play with the contrast, the shadows, the highlights, the midtones, and it tries to save you time doing that yourself. But at the same time, it comes at a loss of a lot of data. That means in post-processing, when you take that JPEG file into your computer and try to play with the shadows, midtones, and all that, you don't have as much as with the RAW files. So always shoot in RAW. When you shoot in RAW, that means you have way more ability to play with all these data to adjust it the way you want. You can play with the white balance, the shadows, the highlights, the midtones, the curves, and even like singular colors in your photo. You can just adjust that. So this is my first tip to you, is to shoot in RAW. My second tip for you is to use natural light correctly. And what I mean by that is to stay safe. And to stay safe using natural light, try to take your pictures in the shadows, away from the hard light. Because the hard light, it's really a mess, and it's a lot that can be going on to post-process after you take these pictures. Sometimes you can't even remove the hard light from the face of your the model you're taking photos of, or your client. So you'll have a hard time post-processing those photos in the hard light. So as you're starting out, you might feel also frustrated when you see those pictures and the hard light, that you can't really maneuver it and play around it. And to stay safe, shoot your pictures in the shadow, and that's my second tip for you. My third tip for you is to always post-process your pictures using Lightroom and Adobe Photoshop. So when you use Lightroom, you basically have access to every aspect of the pictures that you just took. And you can use that leverage to adjust the colors in the picture. You can probably change the luminance of a certain color. You can probably add a contrast of a certain color and all that. And that can change the vibe of the picture that you took. And once we're done with that in the Lightroom, we can edit that photo in the Photoshop. And here in the Photoshop comes another tasks to do with the photo. So we can maybe remove blemishes, we can we can sharpen the subject in the photo, we can add a motion blur in the background, and we also can give another vibe to the picture other than that one you gave it to it in the Lightroom. So I always like the idea of using both apps together. They are actually complementary to each other. So this is my third tip for you. My fourth tip for you is to try to use the manual mode to become a more of a professional photographer. So it's not that hard to use manual mode. The thing that's about it is that you have to adjust the settings based on the lighting. So you might take a picture at 3 p.m. Based on certain settings, but then if you take the picture at 4 p.m. using the same settings, you might find it different, because you have to adjust the aperture, you have to adjust the shutter speed, you have to adjust your ISO. So this is the trick about manual mode. But if you really master the manual mode, you're basically taking a big step towards being a professional photographer. And finally, my last tip for you is to try and learn composition techniques. When you learn composition techniques, you're basically becoming way more better at understanding how people see your pictures. If you want people to see your pictures through your lens, through the way you see it, you have to learn more about composition techniques. People are drawn to light, so that means the lighter aspects of the picture, people's eyes are more drawn into it. So basically, if you're a portrait photographer, you have to make your subject is the brightest element in your photo instead of something in the background. You have to use the rule of having your subject most of the time in the middle of the frame, so that also draws attention to it. You have to learn the idea of using some additional shadows like using a gradient map, or using just a gradient in Adobe Photoshop, and then maybe reduce the opacity of it to just hide some unnecessary aspects of the photo so that people can just focus on one thing in the photo. So when you master all these composition techniques, you're also taking a big step into becoming a professional portrait photographer. So these were my 5 pieces of advice for those who are just starting their journey into portrait photography. Please don't forget to like this video and follow me for more videos. I will show you how to use Lightroom, how you can take leverage of Adobe Photoshop to give any photo that you take a different vibe. I will show you how to use your camera using the right aperture, the right shutter speed, and also the right ISO for your pictures during different times of the day. I will try to help you to become more professional using manual mode and more professional using composition techniques. Moses here. I'm a professional portrait photographer and a commercial videographer, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.